Hi Ben Franklin families, Mrs. Scrupa here, and this week's Read Aloud and art project will be about the book SWIMMY by Leo Lionni. Leo Lionni wrote and illustrated the story, and his illustrations are done through art form of printmaking, where it's these one-of-a-kind artworks created by using different ideas of stamping and pressing different types of textures onto his painted artwork. And we'll be learning a little bit about that and creating a project in that style with this story. A happy school of little red fish lived in the corner of the sea somewhere. They were all red, and only one of them was as black as a mussel shell. He swam faster than his brothers and sisters, and his name was Swimmy. See, all the fish are red, except for here's Swimmy. One bad day, a tuna fish, swift, fierce, and very hungry, came darting through the waves, and in one gulp, he swallowed all the little red fish, and only Swimmy escaped. He swam away in the deep, wet world. He was scared, lonely, and very sad. See, he's there all by himself. But the sea was full of wonderful creatures, and as he swam from marvel to marvel, Swimmy was happy again. He saw a Medusa made of rainbow jelly. Look at that, that's pretty cool. Look at that jellyfish. A lobster who walked about like a water-moving machine. See, there's Swimmy compared to the size of the lobster. Strange fish pulled by invisible thread. A forest of seaweeds growing from sugar candy rocks. How pretty that is. An eel whose tail was almost too far away to remember. Look at how big that eel is compared to Swimmy. And sea anemones who looked like pink palm trees swaying in the wind. Then, hidden in a dark shade of rocks and weeds, he saw a school of little fish, just like his own. "Let's go and swim and play and see things," he said happily. "We can't," said the little red fish. "The big fish will eat us all." "But you can't just lie there," said Swimmy. "We must think of something to do." See, he found all the little fish just like him, all the red fish. Here he is. What do you think they can do so they can all join together? Any ideas? Well, Swimmy thought and thought and thought. And then suddenly he said, "I have it. We're going to swim all together like the biggest fish in the sea." Do you know how they're going to swim together? What could they do? Well, he taught them to swim close together, each one on its own place. In its own place. Look at that. Look what's happening. Do you see that? You see what all the little red fish are doing, what their shape is turning into as they're swimming close together, each in their own little special place? And look, they're swimming. And when they had learned to swim like one giant fish, he said, "Well, I'll be the eye." Look at that teamwork. Look at that. All those fish swam together nice and close. And then look at Swimmy. He made the eye. Does that look like one giant fish to you guys? And so they swam in the cool morning water and in the midday sun and chased that big fish away. Look at that. The end. So what we're going to do is, with this story that Leo Leone wrote and illustrated using the idea of printmaking, is I'm going to show you how to use some materials you have in your recycling bin along with paints that you have, and how to do some easy printmaking so you can create a scene of some red fish, little swimmy here. We'll learn how to do some rocks on the bottom so it looks like the rocks in the sand. Paint some water to have these beautiful wave-like details. And I'll also show you a really fun way of how we can use some of our recycling, some cardboard, to create this seaweed looking kind of ideas. Now these were made out of doilies. I don't have doilies at my house, but I do have cardboard that can create a really cool texture. So I'll meet you back in the art room and we'll talk about how we're going to create a printed artwork, a one-of-a-kind printed artwork inspired by the Leo Leone book, SWIMMY. All right, so now we're going to be doing a little bit of printmaking in the style of Leo Leone's SWIMMY. Now, printmaking is where you create an artwork that is a one-of-a-kind. You'll be doing some stamping, which means pressing maybe some paper towels, some bottle caps. We're going to be using cardboard also to create these different images as we had seen in this story, okay? It'll be a little bit different because he had different resources, but we'll have the same kind of idea. The very first thing we're going to be doing is taking blue paint, watercolor, tempera paint, and painting your paper. As you're working, before the paper gets completely dry, you want to work in little areas. You could take a paper towel, because paper towels have nice little bumps and ridges in them, or a napkin, and what you'll do is press it down onto the paint to help, and rub it to help take away some of the paint. And what you'll get are these really neat patterns from the paper towel, okay? So if you work while the, if you work while the paint is wet, so get it on there and then press down to remove some of the paint, you'll get some of these really cool different textures happening, okay? So that'll help us kind of create the idea of the different ripples in the story of SWIMMY. So you can work on that. As you're doing that, make sure your paint is wet. That means it's not drying all the way, okay? And that way we can get the texture of the paper towel or the napkin that you're using. All right, so now you should have finished your background, okay, with the blue paints. You can see I didn't cover it completely. I left some areas that had some of the white showing of the paper, and you can see some of the texture from pressing onto that wet paint, the paper towel or the napkin, the different designs. Now we're gonna create the seaweed in the story. Now, his seaweed is a little bit different because they use a different kind of material called a paper doily. We're gonna actually use cardboard. So all those shipments that you've been having delivered that are a little bit thicker, the boxes, they have those ridges in the center. We want that cardboard to do the next part. And what we're going to do is, you are gonna try your very best to peel off a layer so you get to see those ridges. And then we'll rip that apart. If that's a little difficult for you to do, you can get an adult to help you pull those apart. You can make a whole bunch, you can make them really thin, you can make them really wide. And you can see the bumps there. We're gonna use that to print our seaweed. So what you'll need next is some green paint and your brush. And don't press too hard so you ruin the ridges. You wanna get some green paint onto your cardboard. You wanna paint the side that has the bumps, and then what you'll do is, where you're gonna have the seaweed on the bottom, press it down, and then when you pull it up, you're gonna get some designed seaweed, okay? So do that multiple times to fill up the bottom. Go ahead, guys, you guys can do that. Everyone have a brush? Mm-hmm. So paint your cardboard on the bumpy side, and if you ripped more cardboard, you can keep different sizes, you can keep using the same one, and on the bumpy side, paint it, and then press it down to start creating this row of seaweed going across the bottom. And all these different textures showing because you use different ways to print. And because we did the water first and then we put the seaweed on top, we are overlapping. So we're building layers of our project on top of each other. We're gonna overlap again, and now we're gonna add like the sand or the rocks that are on the bottom. So just like in the story, they had these rock designs down here. We're gonna use that, and we're going to use our toilet paper rolls as a stamper, so the bottom. So you're gonna need some brown paint, okay? And what you'll do is put the end of the toilet paper roll into the paint and then press down onto the bottom. And you can keep overlapping to create these big rocks, kind of a sand-like bottom for where the fish can hide. Next, we're gonna add the bubbles to our artwork in the water. So if you get yourself a bottle cap and some white paint, and you dip the bottle cap into the white paint, and then you can just take the bottle cap and press it to make these white circular bubbles onto your paper. Okay, you can see that. All right, so you could fill up all the blue area of the water with some bubbles. All right, so now you should have finished with the layers of your water, seaweed, rock, sand, whatever you'd like to describe that as, and some bubbles on top. Now is the part where we're gonna create Swimmy and his friends. So Swimmy is the only one that's the black fish in a sea of all the red. So you're gonna be printing a lot of red, and then the one for that special Swimmy. And what we're gonna be doing for that is you're gonna get some cardboard that is a little bit thinner than what we use. So it could be like cardboard from a box of like crackers that you had, or a toy, or whatever it is that you had, so something thinner. On the cardboard, you're going to draw, or you can have an adult or someone help you, draw 2 shapes of fish, okay? So you can just do a simple drawing like that. So something simple where you can take and draw a long oval and then connect it with an overlapping triangle to create the tail. And then you're gonna cut this part out. So cut that out. You're gonna need 2 of them. One so we can print Swimmy, and the other so we can print the other fish. All right, so I cut out my 2 fish shapes from a thinner piece of cardboard, and if they're different in designs, that's fine too. If they're not exactly perfect, that's okay. So you're gonna choose one of them, and you're gonna paint the cardboard with your black paint. So cover it with a good amount of black paint, and that will be Swimmy. And then before the paint has a chance to dry, make sure your fingers are clean. If it has a chance to dry, figure out where you want to place Swimmy on your artwork and press them down real good. Okay, try not to move the stamp that you just made with Swimmy. Try to just press it down and then very carefully peel it up. And then you have your Swimmy. Now the really cool thing about printmaking, you can see that there's a little bit of the blue showing through from when I pressed down. It didn't get all the way where it's completely black, and that's okay. That makes your artwork one of a kind, makes it original, makes it unique. Then with your other fish, paint that with the red, and you can put Swimmy's friend wherever you'd like, going a different direction, same direction, and press it down, again without moving it, and then carefully peel it up. Again, you can see it didn't fully cover, which makes it really cool and unique. This red fish, since there's multiple of the red fish in the book of Swimmy, you can keep repainting that same fish as a stamp and pressing it down in different areas of your paper. All right, and once you feel like you have enough fish on your artwork, then you can be done. Let it dry and find a really great place to hang it up and display it. Okay, and don't forget, sign your artwork. Make sure people know that you made this artwork and be proud of it. Thank you for sharing your time with me and enjoying the story of Swimmy and using a little bit of printmaking to make our next project. Please share with me any artworks that you have created, and I can't wait to hear from you friends soon. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.